but we're late. We're early, but we're late. All right. Holden, my friend, how are we doing today?
I'm doing better now that you have fixed my computer troubles on my end that resulted in this super long delay. And it's plagued us for a while, too, so everything's fixed going forward now.
Whoa, hold on. Close that. What's that going on? There we go. Yeah, I know. We had some trouble starting, so everyone apologize for the delay if you are watching live or after the fact. But we had some computer trouble, and Holden as a computer programmer, Mike as a engineer, we couldn't figure it out, but it took us a good hour to fix it, so it's good. Could be worse.
Could be worse, yeah.
It could be worse. It's been a good day. So iPhone 13, 13 Pro, new iPad announcement day. Kind of a plethora, of stuff. We talked last week, and I just want to get your thoughts on what was announced, the features, and kind of what we like, what we don't like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I like to call it, because there are some things, in my opinion, which are quite ugly.
I'm curious to hear what you found was ugly. I'm very curious.
Yeah. So maybe let's, if it's okay with you, we'll just follow the natural course that or the prescribed course that the event took. And let's talk about the iPad 9th generation. Mm-hmm. So Apple is releasing a new 9th generation iPad. This is available for pre-order today, ships on Friday. Actually, everything we talk about today is going to basically ship on Friday of next week, and as well as be available in stores. So $329 for consumers, $299 for education, quote unquote. I like to say that there. And this is a A13 Bionic enabled iPad. I think what I find strange about this is that they're in this cadence of yearly updates. So they appear to be pushing this device very frequently, pushing updates to it very frequently, which is why there's a yearly update when you compare it against other devices that maybe get updates every 12, 16, 18 months for the most part. I think this is a good device, though I think many people that are out there who are sitting on these devices, it might not be the right kind of motivation to upgrade. Just want to get your thoughts on that and the pricing. It does look like it's a nice update. I think this one still has Lightning, if I'm not mistaken. A13, so it's 2 high efficiency cores and two high efficiency and high performance cores. But it does look like it's going to be, I guess, maybe not a meaningful update, but a good update for people who are older iPads, like the iPad 5th generation or earlier. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my first thought while watching that part of the event is they spent way too much time talking about that, and I feel like they just could have just skipped right to the iPad mini, and then later on in the day be like, oh, there's also an update, it's available in the Apple Store. I don't even think they had to formally announce this. Like, they spent a lot of time talking about it. Center Stage is cool, which I believe also came from Mini.
You're right.
I don't think that the iPad Air 4th generation has Center Stage, though. So I think that's now the only iPad currently sold that doesn't. Am I wrong about that? I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, you said the basic iPad?
The iPad Air 4, I think, is the only iPad that doesn't have Center Stage now. I believe.
You are correct, because the Center Stage was a feature that basically came out this year, and the iPad Air 4 was updated at the end of last year.
That's right. Okay. So presumably that will come to the iPad Air whenever that update's next.
Yeah, the iPad Air 5.
It's a little... Yeah. It's kind of... Apple does this thing with the iPads where it feels like they're always lopsided in terms of how they announce new features on the iPad. Where like some iPads will get it before others, but never in the way you would imagine. So I don't know. That was a little strange to me, but that's just kind of how Apple has always been with the iPads, at least the past few years. But it's fine. It's a fine update. If you have an iPad and you're in that range of buying in that price range, it's a good device.
Yeah,
you shouldn't regret that purchase.
No, I agree with you. I think when you talk about like lopsidedness, and I think a good example of lopsidedness where every iPad that's been released this year, minus the iPad Basic, that's why I would call it the iPad Basic, has 5G, right? So the iPad, both of the iPad Pro in the 11 and 12.9 inch, the iPad Mini now has 5G, but the iPad Basic does not. And what it's maybe maybe the customers who are buying this iPad are not going to buy 5G. Maybe very few customers buy LTE to begin with, and there's not really a lot of value add going from LTE to 5G on this device, but that's an example, I think, of the lopsidedness where you expect this kind of somewhat feature parity among devices, but then it's not how you think it is. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
What is nice is that this device, along with the iPad mini, both have the improved front and rear camera. So thanks to the benefit of the A13 and the A15 on the iPad mini, they have the new 12 megapixel camera on the back with the improved ISP. And then in addition to that, they have the 12 megapixel camera on the front, like as you mentioned, which is for center stage. I think that's a pretty good deal or pretty good use on that device. I'm kind of surprised that they actually brought center stage to these two devices as well. And then the other part of me says, like, well, everybody uses their iPad at home, so it kind of makes sense. But that's just my thought.
Yeah. Overall, the iPad mini is the big iPad that was announced today for sure.
Yeah, I think...
Oops, just cleaning my desk.
They mentioned something about, like, this is their number one selling iPad. I don't know if it was actually during this part of the keynote or during the part where they're talking about the iPad mini. I don't know if you remember that.
One more time, sorry.
They had mentioned something about this, the most popular iPad. I don't recall if that was during this, when they were talking about the iPad Basic, or if they were talking about the iPad mini. It's probably the mini, I would guess, presume, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's that version. It seems to be very popular for people who just kind of want to read something.
Yeah. Very. That's a good point and maybe a good segue. But just before we take that segue, let's see here. So it worked with all this. It worked with the same keyboard. The original iPad works with the same Apple Pencil, and it's available to order today, as I mentioned. My son has an iPad 7th generation, and last year I bought the 8th generation to see if it was like worth getting it. He's 5 years old, so he'd never. It's more about me than it is about him. But I digress. I am gonna get the 9th generation just from a point of comparison to see what if anything is significantly different. I can't imagine for his use cases or even for like spare use cases that we would have it's that different. But it's something I'm interested to check out. Let's talk about the mini, which I don't know about you. I am excited about this.
It's very nice looking.
It is very nice looking. So the new iPad mini available in 4 colors. We got space gray, sun mist. So we have purple, starlight. Thank you. Space gray, starlight, purple, and pink, if I'm not mistaken. There is the design has been updated to adopt the new design language from the iPad Pro and the iPad Air. It has the Liquid Retina display coming in at 8.3 inches, True Tone, 500 nits of brightness, and still retains Touch ID, though it's been moved to the top of the display along the right-hand side. This is getting the A15, if I'm not mistaken, where it is getting a 40% increase of CPU performance and an 80% or up to 80% increase on GPU performance compared to the last version, which was in 2018. So it's a significant update. Now, I think kind of differently, this is getting USB-C, where every other iPad that's in the lineup today has the Lightning port, and this is getting 5G. So again, there's an example of kind of lopsidedness that you talked about just a moment ago. But I really like this purple color. Like, it's my favorite color, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that, especially on live TV. But
also a good color. Nothing wrong with that. It's the color of royalty.
It is. It's also the color of my alma mater, so I'll take that. But I think coming in at $499 for the 64 gig, and it might be a $649 for the 256 gig. It's awfully expensive, and then the $150 premium for adding on 5G. It's definitely not. It's definitely not inexpensive. I could say that.
What was the other iPad mini? It was it $399, right?
The other iPad mini before today, I think it was $499. Is that what I said? Did I say $499?
The new one is $499, but I thought it was $399 for the. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe at one
point. I'm trying to find on Apple's website. I'm scrolling through Apple's website right now.
Yeah.
To see, and I don't. There's no comparison. I guess this completely replaced the older iPad mini.
Yeah, I think so as
Yeah.
well. As well, like they're not even selling that old model. It so to the example that you gave earlier, it seems like it's really good. I wouldn't call it pocket size unless you're a painter or someone who maybe works construction, but it is a good quote unquote pocket size device to carry with you, and it supports the Apple Pencil 2. No promotion, right? It doesn't have promotion, but it does have that same 12 megapixel camera in the front and the back that we just talked about on the iPad Basic. And the display looks like it's the Liquid Retina display, so it's not it's the same display that was on the first and second generation iPad Pro 11 inch and 11 inch. So it does look really nice. This is the price though. I can't find it kind of hard to swallow the price.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and so this is the 5th generation Mini. iPad Mini 4 came out in 2015. So first of all, it's been a very long time, way longer than I had thought. That's what I just saw, at least on Google, really when doing a quick search, and that was $399. So it's also a $100 more expensive than it was before. Oh wait, iPad Mini 6 is the one that just came out, right?
Yeah.
Wait, is Mini 5 or Mini 6?
It should be Mini.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. 2019 is the last time iPad Mini was updated.
Okay.
Let me double check what I was just saying. I was about to say 2015 seemed like a really long time.
Yeah.
What's making this tough is Google is seeing 5 and then going, oh, you meant 5G, right? Here's the iPad Mini with 5G announced today. I'm like, no, that's not what I want to see.
Yeah. So there was a 7.9 inch. Here it is. Let's see here. This is on Best Buy's website. Apple 7.9 inch iPad Mini 5th generation. This was $399. I don't know if Best Buy changed the price today when the new one was announced, but this is the price that's listed for that. And I think that's how it was. It was very similar to that. And that came out maybe in the middle of, or the end of 2018, early part of 2019. I think it was the where they talked about when they launched Apple TV for the first time. It was like a spring event, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But it does seem like it's a nice. Like I ordered one because I'm compulsive for the first part, but I ordered one for like sitting on the couch. And my thought is I have an 11 inch iPad Pro. I'm like, maybe I'll just get rid of that and keep this because it's smaller and maybe more compact. But I don't know. I think there is certainly some use cases where you have this kind of there's some usefulness in this small size, not like video editing or any of those kind of crazy things that people do in the the promo video. Like who's gonna edit video on an 8.3 inch screen? Not me, said Mike. But yeah, I don't know. How do you see this, or how could you see this fitting into what you do or how you use your iPad today, or is it too small for you?
It's too small for me. I use the keyboard case on my iPad a lot. I use it primarily to take notes. I also like to handwrite notes too. So I feel like the Mini wouldn't be the size I would want for something like that. So I personally wouldn't get one. What I have seen a lot of people online saying, including some friends of mine, is that they want to use it as basically like a little portable gaming machine.
Yes.
And if you're using Apple Arcade or Apple One, that's probably a good way to play a lot of those games is on an iPad Mini.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, what I just thought of when you were saying about how your friends would use it, I wonder if this will support, what do they call it? Sidecar.
I don't see why not. Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm just thinking the iPhone doesn't support it. It's not a limitation of the processor for sure. It's probably a limitation of what they think the size is best for. I'm just wondering. It's kind of a would that even be like a real use case? It's such a small screen.
But it's still, I can see using Sidecar with something like that to play a YouTube video or something like that on that device while I'm working on my Mac. So I do that a lot. Like I'll watch something on YouTube while I work.
Okay.
And I can see myself using like an iPad Mini as a little YouTube machine next to my Mac and my monitor, and then just dragging my mouse over to hit the pause and play button or to find a new video, and then bring my mouse back over to my Mac. Oh, Sidecar, not. I'm sorry, I got confused. Sidecar, not whatchamacallit.
Not continuity, but
what's it called? A universal control.
Yeah, universal control. You're correct.
But even then, Sidecar I can still see being used for that same exact purpose.
Yeah. You know, the other thing where I think is nice about this is the faster data transfer speeds. So because they have USB-C, there's a high-speed controller in there, and allows you to transfer data back and forth, to the iPad Mini from the iPad Mini at 10 times faster the data rate. So that's value add. Like maybe if you work in the field and you wanted to back up like some type of media that you have on a camera or on a backup SD, of like a video files that you have on a. Have you ever seen this? It's like an industrial metal SSD, which goes in my camera.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like if you wanted to back that up, it would be nice. I do think maybe, again, it would be good for reading. Where I think is interesting is that now there's this, the iPad Mini at 8.3 inches, the iPad at 10.2 inches, the iPad Air at 10.9 inches maybe, and then the iPad Pro at 11 inches. Like it just seems like the 11-inch iPad Pro doesn't really fit in there because it's so close to the other side. So close to the other sizes. And I don't know. I mean, it's just, there's that tension about what do you do when the sizes are so close to one another, like the 10.2, the 10.9, and the 11 inch, and especially because the 10.9 and the 11 inch are kind of very close in close in functionality, minus Thunderbolt. But that is interesting as well.
Yeah, like that. I can't imagine any customers like, oh, I had to go for the Pro because I needed that fraction of an inch extra.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know who that is.
Me either. That's a very good example about how would it be to play games on it. I'd like to see that. I just want that controller now. Like I want them to make a controller that would fit this. But I digress.
Like a Switch competitor, you just like lock two controllers either side, and you have a way better screen than the Switch does.
Yeah, well, more powerful, and
by a lot.
Yeah. The thing that's kind of kills that idea is that now the iPad Mini uses USB-C. So unless this was like a Bluetooth controller, right? Like we were talking about like a Bluetooth controller, it would never be able to physically lock into the iPad Mini and the iPhone because there's no you'd have to have like multiple ports on the controller to just be thinking out loud. So for you, it's too small. For me, I'm just compulsive and I like to buy things. Maybe it would be good like for someone like my wife has an iPad Air and she only uses it to play games for the most part. I could see like getting her this and maybe transitioning her out of that device and getting rid of it. But I don't know what a lot of people use this for. Is it like people buying it for their kids and, letting their kids play games, or is it something different? I kind of have a hard time picturing how people use this other than like those 3 use cases that we just talked about.
And $500 is a lot to ask for.
Yes.
Just something to throw at the kid to have him play some games. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't, I don't know, that seems excessive. If it was in like the $300 range, that would be more understandable, but you're right. At $500, even though it's too expensive, it is good for that use though. Like why get your kid an iPod Touch when you can get them this, other than price, of course.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, speaking of the iPod Touch, the last time that was updated, I think, is last year. Like, do people even care about those devices at this point? And if they don't, if they do care about those devices and Apple's not making them or they're not, providing meaningful updates for them, what are they buying?
Yeah.
So I'm far outside the circle of being a 14-year-old. I have no idea do people even buy iPod Touches? Like all of my nieces and nephews that are like that age bracket, which is arguably closer to you than it is to me, they don't have iPods. They all have phones. Like I guess, right? I mean, it's I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who's buying iPod Touches anymore. I don't get it. Because like, let's say that. Like, if I were a parent, I'm not a parent, but if I were a parent and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about getting an iPod Touch so my, kid can play some games on a device, I would much rather just give him an older iPhone at this point of mine than, like, oh, I'll buy the iPhone 13, I'll give my 10R to the kiddo and not activate it, and it's just going to be an iPod Touch. It's more capable than the iPod Touch. It does more. It has Face ID. It's all these way better features, and I didn't really have to spend anything on it in particular other than getting myself a new phone.
I mean, not even that. Like if you go to Apple's
Which I would have
website,
done anyway.
no, yeah, you're absolutely right. But if you go to Apple's website, the complete lineup of devices that they have, it starts at $299 for the iPhone SE, and I think the iPhone 11 is, how much is it? The iPhone 11 is $499. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you could buy yourself, or sorry, you could buy your kid a $329 iPad, which is gigantic. They're never going to want to carry that around with them. A $499 iPad Air, or an iPhone 11, which arguably probably has better use than those other two devices do. And it doesn't have to have a contract, right? There's that whole stipulation or the stigma of having a contract. Let's see here. And it does have 5G in it, which is kind of surprising as well. It does also have a new stereo system when the device is in landscape mode, where the sound is coming out both the top of the iPad and the bottom of the iPad, which I thought was interesting. And it's interesting that it's only available in that landscape mode. It doesn't work in portrait. Like I would think like maybe if you're playing games, that's like the way to play it, right? So if you're playing games, you're going to get that stereo sound, and maybe that's what they're positioning it for. What I did notice is that they kind of had this 3 talking points that were the same across it. It's good for games, it's good for pictures, and it's good for videos. And those 3 kind of use cases were very prevalent throughout the presentation, because they're talking about editing video, playing games, Apple Arcade, yada yada yada, Apple TV, and you hear that and you're like, oh, okay, what are they then positioning this for, or where could it go then in the future? So we talk about good, bad, and the ugly. The iPad first one, I think it's okay. The iPad Mini, I think it's good.
I totally agree.
Yeah. They did make some nice accessories for the new iPad Mini. So they have those new Smart Folio covers. They don't have a keyboard, first-party keyboard. They do have some third-party keyboards. And then again, they have the Apple Pencil 2 with that works obviously with a nice magnetic charging. Anything that you want to add there, Holden?
No, I mean, I think you got nailed it with just the iPad original, like basic as you put it. Why was it even here? Yep. They could have just announced it afterwards, and spent too much time on that. And then iPad Mini looks good. It looks really good. I actually wasn't expecting to be impressed by an iPad Mini. Even though I won't buy one, I'm definitely impressed by it.
Yeah.
Hey, Fernando, what's going on?
Hey, Fernando. For some reason, I don't see Fernando in the chat.
Ruh-roh.
Oh, there he is.
I see him on the Ekin side, yeah.
There he is. iPad Mini to replace my Nintendo Switch. Oh, that's a bold move. There's no Animal Crossing.
You can't play Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey or any of those great games on an iPad Mini. Well, maybe you can jailbreak it and get them on there some other way, but can't do it.
Yeah.
Missing out on so much.
Yeah, that's a tough call. That is a tough call. So let's talk about the ugly, and I'm thoroughly disappointed in the path I was led down with the Apple Watch. Like the Apple Watch renders to begin with look so good. You had me bought into it, Holden. You were like, oh, it's like flat edges, and it looks like the new iPad.
That wasn't me.
No, I know, but we talked about it.
That wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you, like you who created the renders, but you were like so excited about it.
No, I wasn't.
I thought you were excited about the redesign.
I wanted them to keep it the same, and they did. So I'm happy.
Oh.
But yeah, that wasn't me. No, I wasn't excited for the redesigns. I never wanted it to be flat.
Oh, okay. Well, so then maybe I led myself down that path, because the renders that from John Prosser and
blame me.
I wasn't blaming you per se.
Oh,
but,
I'm just playing with you.
Yeah.
You're fine.
But the renders looked really good. I'm like, oh, it's got this flat design. It looks like the iPad, the iPad Pro kind of shrunken down to the Apple Watch. And we look at it now, and it looks kind of largely the same in my opinion. I'm like, oh, it's got a bigger screen on it, and it's kind of a little bit more compact. It's not necessarily doesn't sit as thick. I didn't think that was. So for me, I'm like, oh, I don't really see a reason for me to be compelled to buy this. Like, I don't know what's the significance of this. Especially, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying, just agreeing.
There wasn't any kind of salient health features like there were last year with EKG or the blood oxygen level. Like I just didn't see that, and it actually felt like it was a little bit rushed the way they presented it, talking about the glass, the fact that it now will auto start a workout when you get on a bike, and it'll detect if you fall if you're on a bike. But like that's great. Yes, I totally that's great. But that feature is actually coming across all the lineup. So I didn't think that there was this sense of them pushing the envelope forward like they had in previous years regarding the Apple Watch.
Yeah, Steve IT guy says there hasn't been a great reason to buy a new Apple Watch since the Series 4. I hear that sentiment a lot. I'm a fanboy of the always on display. Mm-hmm. I love the always on display. So for me, I'd say Series 5.
Yeah.
But I think that you're largely right that like both of you guys are largely right in that Apple Watch upgrades haven't really done too much over the years. They've generally kind of focused on like one thing, and this time around it's really the display, as you were saying. Like that's the main reason to be interested in the Apple Watch. I personally am very interested in that. The modular Max watch face, where you have the two large modular watch faces, that is what I want. I want that watch face really, really badly. The problem for me, and the reason I won't buy this, is I'm going to take my Apple Watch here for a second. I have the stainless steel space black Apple Watch. This is the Apple Watch I always wanted when they first announced them way back when in 2015. It's perfect. It's this little black pebble. It just looks awesome. I love it. And that's gone now. You can't get it. You can't get it in the Series 7. So I literally will not upgrade my Apple Watch until I can get that design again. I don't want the graphite one. I don't think the way that looks. And I'm not going to buy a titanium. So I don't know. Like I'm kind of bummed out because of that. I know that's kind of a really like small thing. Excuse me. But that's what was kind of lacking for me. Is the display is nice. I like that watch face, but I'm not going to spend that much money to get a watch face, and then also not be able to get the casing that I want to for the Apple Watch. So I was kind of bummed out, but I wasn't like. I think it's a good upgrade, but it's not a great one. So I wouldn't go as far as say it's ugly, but it's just good.
So the Series 4 is, I think, when they introduced fall detection, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that was a significant upgrade for a lot of people. Maybe not necessarily in your age bracket or my age bracket, but when you're buying the Apple Watch, maybe for your parents, and that was it. I love the always on display, though I don't think like outside of like the EKG feature that's in the Series 6, I can't think of another feature that I would like, oh, I have to have this. So we talked about it last week, where like I feel like I'm hitting the upper bound like processor or like functional usefulness of the device when I'm out and about. It's totally not the case. And I feel like this year they're just kind of like stringing it along with maybe the way it was presented. That's just my opinion, because they didn't necessarily give a very in-depth kind of presentation on the Apple Watch. They spent more time on the first iPad than they did on the Apple Watch, it felt like. And it was
yeah.
And like one's a new product and one is like a refresh. Well, I guess they're both kind of refreshes. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I guess we'll see, because it's not even available. It's like, we'll ship this fall, whatever that means.
That could mean December. Like seriously, that could be December. I don't think it's actually going to be that far out, but that's not. Yeah. It's very strange, and you don't see that from Apple very often.
No, you don't.
Fernando asked, "Do we have any confirmation on pin connectors in the iPad Mini?" I just went to the site and looked, and there isn't like a 3D like gallery view or a 360 gallery view of the iPad Mini, but just from the pictures I was looking at, it doesn't seem like it does. Which, since it doesn't have the keyboard, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, like could you imagine how small that keyboard would be? It's like super cramped, like.
Yeah, it'd be very, very hard to type on for sure.
Very hard.
Going back to Apple Watch though, to kind of respond to what you were saying, yeah, like they didn't really go in depth on a lot of things. Like one of the questions I had immediately was, does this have a different processor? Is this like going to be faster in any way? Yes. I know it has the different charging mechanisms.
Yep.
But I feel like there's missing parts of the conversation there for sure. they probably didn't talk about it because there's not a difference in the speed, which they've certainly done before in Apple Watch. I think Series 5 has the same exact speeds as the Series 4.
Yes.
And I think Series 6 was a little bit faster, so maybe they kind of went on an off year on this one for that. One thing, though, I did appreciate about this watch, because I'm someone who wears my watch all the time, and it's only off of me when I'm like when I'm charging it. That's it. Is that you can charge it up for an 8 hours, sleep duration. It charges up to that point in 8 minutes.
Yes,
it can charge 33% faster. And last year it was already 20% faster charging. So that's a pretty big upgrade from where I am right now with the Series 5. So that's compelling to me for sure.
Now I wonder, will that new charging cable work with the Series 5? Or sorry, Series 6? Apple.
I'm assuming it would. They still work on all the other past Apple Watches, but I don't know if you'll get the extra boost in charge times, because it's the way they made it seem is that this is a advantage of the entire architecture of how the Apple Watch charges. So it's not just the cable; it's the cable and then internal components as well. So, I'd imagine it wouldn't have the boost. I'd imagine it's kind of like how you can use MagSafe technically on a iPhone 11, but it doesn't actually charge it that fast, and it doesn't magnetically connect. Like, it's backwards compatible, but not really.
Oh, okay. So it says right here on the website, oops, sorry about that. It says fast charging is only compatible with the Series 7. Other models have regular charge times. Yeah. God, I hate you, Apple.
They should go to your house, take apart your Apple Watch, put those components inside the Apple Watch so you can get those features. They need to do that for you.
Oh my God, Chief King, I love NBA 2K and Apple Arcade. That is a great game, as Fernando likes to play it. I can't believe this. Like, it just makes me so mad. It's like, I don't want to spend $2.99 or $3.99 on an Apple Watch to get faster charging times, but I'd like to have it. Whatever, Apple. Eat it. So it is very good that it does work with all of your existing watch bands. They didn't screw the pooch here and say that you have to use different watch bands, even though it being roughly, I think, 18 or 20% bigger than it was last year in terms of the display size and the casing size. But the lug size is not different. That's still the same.
Is the casing size really bigger?
Yeah, it's so.
I know the screen is.
So it went from 40 and 44 to 41 and 45.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know that the display changed, but I thought they just pushed the display further out to the edges. But it's the same size. I think they have a comparison picture on their site. I'm going to look at it.
Okay. While Holden's looking that up, Steve, does Apple even really see the Apple Watch as a non-health device? No, I don't think they do, Steve. That it literally says your health device on your wrist at the end of the ad that they played today. So I think their perspective is that they're using this to learn as much about that as you can, so they can create more meaningful health products.
I just sent you a screenshot.
Okay.
I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but the Series 3 looks definitively smaller than the Series 6 in the picture that is on their site. But the Series 7, I can't tell if it's just the difference in the colors, because the Series 7 uses a green band, whereas the Series 6 uses a black band.
Yep.
But it looks like it's a little bit taller. But I don't think it actually is. I think it's just an illusion.
It's an illusion. It's like the Ghetto Boys, my mind's playing tricks on me.
I can actually test this pretty quickly. I'm just going to use the whatchamacallit, the URL bar in Chrome to line up the bottoms and see if they line up.
Yeah.
It does appear to be a little bit taller, but by like a tiny bit. You wouldn't even notice it, I don't think.
Yeah. So I know that the rumor going into the event was they're being upgraded from like 40 and 44 to 41 and 45, and based on that kind of incremental change that you just eyeballed, seems like that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'll say this, it's so imperceptible when we're looking at a blown up image of an Apple Watch that the actual Apple Watch, I'm sure you would not be able to notice that at all. So I don't think it's meaningful.
Yeah. The one thing I did last year, which I've never done before, like you, I used to buy the nicer watch. I'm like, I'm going to buy the nicer watch because I'm going to have this for, X amount of years. I'm like, I trade it in every year, every 18 months. There's no point in spending the extra money. Just buy the cheap one, and you'll have less heartache over it. I don't want to do that. Let's see here.
I still got to do stainless steel. I just like the aesthetic of it too much.
Oh, I do. So do
I'm
I.
a sucker.
Yeah, I'm a sucker. I am. Go ahead.
Here's how much of a sucker I am. I was thinking about this today because my kind of just upset over, Space Black not coming back. And I'm like, watch this. Apple's going to, in like maybe next year, in a few years maybe, they're going to release the ceramic Apple Watches again. And they're going to come in white and black. And that's how you can get that all black look again, is by getting the Apple Watch edition in ceramic. And it's like, well, you know what? I'm a sucker. I will spend $1,300 just to get that version because I'm a sucker and I want that. I want that exact Apple Watch. It looks too good. It looks way too good.
It does look really good. It's, like you said, it's got that pebble-like appearance to it, where it just kind of floats on your wrist. But at $1,300, I mean, I know it's. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's so dumb of me, but I know I would do it. I know I would. If anyone called me out and it's like, man, you're an idiot, I'm like, yeah, I am. I am an idiot for doing that. But I will own up to being an idiot because I like that design too much.
Yeah.
I'll also have it for a while too. Like my Series 5 is still running really strong. I love my Series 5.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
I like my Series 5. I think the only feature that Series 5 doesn't have always on display, right?
It does, yeah.
It does.
It was the first one to have it.
Okay. The one like maybe weird comment from Jeff Williams, he's like, well, this new Apple Watch is 70% brighter when it's on your wrist and you're not looking at it. Why would I care about that? It's like,
yeah, well, that was the thing last year at the Series 6 is like, oh, and now when it's in always on mode, it's brighter. I'm like, I have a Series 5. I've never had a problem looking at the time on it when it's in always on mode. Yeah, I've never had to do that. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Own.
Yes. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to add to the Apple Watch?
I do, actually. I do have one bone to pick here. So here's my ugly from the event.
Okay.
Why are they still selling a Series 3 Apple Watch?
Good question. People keep buying them.
The pricing is affordable, but damn, that thing is old now.
Series 3. So it's 4 years old? Right?
2018, yeah. Or 2017. 2017, yeah.
So maybe
4 years old, yeah.
Maybe the use case. So I guess why do people buy them? That's probably because obviously they're only selling things that people buy. They're not selling things that people don't buy. Maybe they see like an influx of people buying them for their children from last year, and that's why they want to keep up.
Those have to. Are you talking about like for the like child mode, or whatever it's called?
Yeah, child mode. Yeah, like Apple Watch Family or Apple Watch Setup for Family.
Yeah, I think you have to have an SE for that though. So you couldn't even get a Series 3 to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My big gripe is not that, like, if someone bought a Series 3, like, I don't think they're going to have a terrible experience with it. I think they're missing out on a lot. Although, is it Technology? Technology? Oh, Technology. Am I pronouncing that right?
You know what? I think I've always gotten that wrong. Thank you for pronouncing it right. I'm like, Technology.
I don't know if I did or not. I have no idea.
Yeah.
He's saying it's pretty slow, and I would believe that. There are some problems with the Series 3 for sure, but my big problem is like they can't take watchOS farther until they get rid of the Series 3, because I feel like the Series 3 is probably holding watchOS back at this point. Because the Series 4 was a substantial jump forward, meaning that the SE would be the equivalent, is a substantial step forward over the 3.
Price.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree, Steve. It's probably the price and just keeping it there. They can't afford to bring the Apple Watch SE down to $199, and at the same time, if they could bring it down to like $250 or something like that, that's not low enough to get the audience that's probably still buying the Series 3.
Yeah. I maybe like when you think about or so maybe like if you're buying it for your parents, like if you're someone like my age, you're buying it for your older parents, they don't need all the bells and whistles. Does the Series 3 have fall detection or no?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah. So my a few months ago, my mom wanted to do something nice for my aunt and was going to get her an Apple Watch. She's like, "Oh, I'll just get her an Apple Watch Series 3," and I'm like, I literally talked her out of it. I'm like, if you're gonna get an Apple Watch for your sister, like get her an SE at the very least. Like sisters don't let sisters have terrible Apple Watches. Get her an SE, and she did, and I'm thankful because I would have hurt for my aunt if she got an SE or I got a 3.
Okay, so here, what you need for Apple Watch family setup is an Apple Watch Series 4 or later with cellular. So the Series 3 definitely would not work. That's a good question. Maybe I don't know. That's a really good question.
Technology also said, I feel like it's also used as a way to make the SE's price sound better. They won't go for the cheapest or the most expensive. That's actually fair. Like, oh, I don't want to get a Series 7. I don't want the latest, but I'll get the SE. So I'm not getting the worst Apple Watch, but I'm still getting a good one.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that? It's a marketing thing. It's called Rome with Coffee. And you compare like 3 things, and the first 2 things are like almost identical. It's like, do you want to go to Paris for 3 days, or do you want to go to Rome for 3 days? And then what you do in the end, in the third comparison, you say, but you can go to Rome, but we'll give you free coffee every day. Everyone's like, oh, I want that. Like
I think who is it? Dan Ariely did a TED talk where he talked about that.
Yeah.
The concept. It's a really, really good TED talk. Dan Ariely is very brilliant if anyone's curious about behavioral economics.
Steve, the experience is so terrible that if you buy your parents an S3, you'll end up buying them an SE2. That or they'll disown you because it's so terrible, right? They're like, why did you buy me this piece of crap?
That's hilarious. Like, what's worth my time troubleshooting this Series 3R or $300?
Yeah. Definitely.
That's
definitely the $300 is probably money better well spent.
Yeah. Troubleshooting. I don't mind teaching people stuff in technology. I used to teach people how to use technology, but or like computers and stuff. But something about helping family out is worse for some reason.
Totally.
And I don't even like hate my family or anything, but you lose your patience much more quickly. Like it's the worst.
Dude, those like I get these calls at like 9 o'clock on FaceTime from my dad. He's like looking at the phone like right here, or I see his neck. He's like, Mike, I need help with my passwords.
My grandma was telling me that she lost her phone. She's like, I just don't know where my phone is. It's lost, and I don't know. I'm just really bummed about it, but I just don't think I'm going to get another one. I was talking to my aunt. She's like, oh, no, I just hid the phone from her because I was so tired of answering questions, and she doesn't do anything with it. She just uses it, looks at it, gets scared, and asks me for help. I'm like, I don't want to put up with that, so it was lost. It was so mean, but like, I get it.
That's awesome.
She didn't use it for anything. It's not like we're actually taking anything from her. She barely used it.
Sorry, Dad, if you're listening. So the other new features related to the Apple Watch are the new changes in Apple Fitness Plus. So we have, I love Apple Fitness Plus, though you would not understand that looking at me. So Apple Fitness Plus available in I think 7 or 8 new countries, and now they're adding subtitles. They have a few new workouts, which is including Pilates. They have guided meditation, and I think maybe the odd man, at least for me, was warm up for ski season or warm up for winter sports season with skiing and snowboarding. I'm like, what? Who does that?
I'm wondering how they do that. Are they gonna like have someone skiing down a mountain and then another person in front of them with a camera to like how are they gonna do that? I'm very confused.
I have no idea.
The guided meditation is actually a big deal though, because if you're subscribed to Apple Fitness or you're using Apple One, a lot of these like meditation apps, like if you just want to use meditation apps just very basically, they can be kind of expensive per month. So this is actually kind of a big deal, and I wonder if it's going to hurt those companies or not. But I just can't you were talking about Headspace, like you use Headspace.
Yeah.
I can't justify it, but since I already have Apple Fitness Plus through Apple One, I might as well do those guided meditations now. So I feel like I will actually do them, because I didn't really want to spend the subscription price on Headspace or an equivalent app.
Yeah, I mean, like, Apple's trying to capture like 80% of the functionality when you think about, when they launch a feature. It's good enough for most people, but there are people who are, still going to buy the more advanced subscription, the more advanced service, whatever the case is. And you're right, it'll probably work for you because it works for a lot of people. What I didn't. Let's see. Those 3 features come out later this month. That's what I understood from the announcement. Now, the other thing that I thought was very, very cool was Fitness Plus group workouts via SharePlay. I'm like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Yes, that is very cool.
Yes. So you can like compete with like up to 32 friends via FaceTime or via FaceTime and SharePlay, and like that's a really cool way to, I guess, interact with people that you're already sharing your health data with and kind of competition data.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Also a good motivator. Like, I'm horribly out of shape. I'm like morbidly obese. Like, I definitely take my health more seriously. And
I didn't mean to laugh. It's just, you're so nonchalant about it.
No, I'm not. Oh, I'm not offended. It's true. It's objectively true. Which was I gonna say? But like being able to like group like FaceTime people while I'm doing like a workout on my exercise bike or something like that would be way more motivating than listening to someone on Fitness Plus say, "Keep going, man, you can do it." Like, I don't know. I don't ever find those people very motivating. Okay. Nothing against them. It's just not for me. But I feel like my friends, absolutely, I would do that. I would 100% do that.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
So even Apple, if you have a exercise bike and you want to do that sometime, let me know.
Yeah, so I don't have an exercise bike, though my wife wants to try and buy one.
There's some that aren't that bad on like Amazon. Steve IT guy wants to know what we think of the on-screen keyboard on the Apple Watch.
So I think it's interesting, Steve, that you brought this up. There is a developer, I think it's called FlickType, if I'm not mistaken. They've been in the App Store for at least, I think, 18 months or 24 months, where they had an app on the Apple Watch where basically you flick, flick the letters of the keyboard. And like recently, like this past iOS or watchOS 8 update, they've been getting denied, and now kind of, they're wondering why I'm getting denied. Well, it's because Apple Sherlock them.
That's different than like when I remember Flux dealt with the same thing where Flux would adjust the temperature of your display.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it on Mac, but they wouldn't allow it on iPhone, and that made more sense because it would require you to have access to the display in a way that could be intrusive to privacy. So that's why they cut it off. But I can't imagine what that argument is for this one when they allow third-party keyboards on iOS.
Yeah.
So some sort of framework that exists within watchOS, I'd imagine that can support something like that. Interesting. In terms of the keyboard itself, I'll never use it because Scribble works perfectly for me.
Yeah, like it seems like it would just be too small for me to use. I guess maybe that's why that's probably why they have a bigger Apple Watch now. But I just put that link inside the chat if you want to look at it. So FlickType developer suing Apple again over Apple Watch keyboard.
Man, Apple's got a lot of lawsuits.
The end is near.
The end is near.
The end is near.
Because they'll be back in court with Epic probably in the near future. So.
Yeah. Launches later this month. Anything else that you want to add to Apple Watch, Apple Fitness?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the big dog, so to speak, the iPhone. iPhone 13, iPhone 13 mini. So there is bigger, it's called bigger, brighter. No, so you have the Super Retina XDR display, which seems to be different than it was last year. What's so funny?
I think it's the stupidest name.
It's such a tongue twister. Super Retina XDR display. And
then it's such like when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, he got rid of like these because the Macs used to have these ridiculous names back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like the Macintosh 2 CX4 or something like that, and it just feels like it's that. Again, I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're not interrupting. I think it's funny that it's the Super Retina XDR display on the phone, but on the computer it's the XDR Super Retina display. It's like switched around in such a way. It's like, why would you do that? But so we have the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 mini. So the mini lives to see another year, at least at this point, even though it had horrible sales, quote unquote, according to people last year. And Apple is redesigning the camera system. So I think maybe the salient features are updated cameras, which the cameras are supposed to be largely an improvement over last year's good cameras, but they were good and they they undoubtedly had their challenges in kind of certain lighting conditions. That camera system is, hold on one second here. There is supposed to be with the display 28% brighter. All right, so you're getting 1,000 nits of brightness and 1,200 nits of peak brightness in HDR. Again, with the A15 Bionic, they put a lot of emphasis on the power of the A15, which I thought was interesting. You get the 2 high performance, 4 high efficiency, 50% faster than last year for GPUs. And I love how they draw these comparisons. They're like 30% faster than the nearest competition. Well, which phone are you talking about? Can you give me a clue here? Like, give me
because
just.
they're probably not comparing it to like Samsung, because Samsung, I think that the Apple processors are still more powerful than the Qualcomm chips, but not by that much.
Yeah.
We say 30% or 30 times.
It's 30%.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 30 times. I mean, there's no way that this iPhone's 30 times faster than anything else. All right, 30% is more believable.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Who are they comparing it to?
Yeah, they're comparing it to. So the lenses themselves letting in 47% more light, 1.7 micron focus pixels. You were having an f1.6 aperture in the primary lens. So a number of different kind of like, I wouldn't call it like just superfluous detail around the camera and like what people could probably absorb. Like, oh wow, this has 1.6 aperture. I would imagine most people watching the keynote might not know necessarily what that means, but that's neither here nor there. So we have basically a camera that takes better pictures, quicker pictures in nighttime conditions, which didn't do last year, and there's less grain, less noise in those pictures. That's how I would kind of characterize it. My wife's like, which iPhone do I want? I'm like, well, you have the Pro now. You probably don't want to go down to the 13. You probably just want to keep the Pro. She's like, okay. And that was it. Like, that was really the the end of that conversation. But what I think is really cool is that they're able to get more battery life on both the 13 Pro, both the 13 and the Mini this year. It's 90 minutes of increase on the Mini and 2.5 hours of increase on the regular 13. That's like incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's like witchcraft and sorcery. I don't know how they do that.
It's also worth upgrading. Like, if you're an iPhone upgrade program or something like that, absolutely worth getting the upgrade on this year. But even if you're not, like, I think people use their phones so much nowadays that battery life is probably one of the most important things besides the camera, maybe. So I would absolutely upgrade my phone for an extra 2.5 hours of battery. Are you kidding? It'd be amazing.
So let me ask you a real question. How much time do you spend not somewhere, or how much time do you spend with your phone when during the day when you're not close to a charger? Is a lot of your time spent out and about?
Well, I mean, I do all my school from home, so
Okay.
No, not for me. But I still don't like to have it plugged in if I don't have to.
Okay.
Like, for example, I don't like laying in bed having it charge because I can't rest it on my chest or anything like that.
Yep.
Because the wire kind of gets in the way. But when I was living in Chicago, that would have been a game changer for me.
Yeah.
312.
312. So you're right. It would be a game changer. It's just, I think to me it's surprising, one, how they're able to do this, but I guess if you were on an annual upgrade program, I don't know. It's surprising that they're able to get this kind of power efficiency both from the display and the processor, both being first generation, new components this year. But that's just interesting. Sorry about the bump.
No worries.
So $699 and $799 are the prices, and they are in product red, space gray. Oop, it just disappeared on me. Please hold. Where'd it go? There it is. Product red, starlight, midnight, blue, and pink. There's no black.
Is that the midnight one?
Oh, I guess that is midnight. Oh, is that the matte black color that they were talking about?
I'm going to the website to double check. I'm not sure how I feel about starlight.
Yeah.
Is it just silver? Why did they name it starlight? Because the 13 Pro comes in silver.
It does.
But I feel like starlight is just silver. What's the difference?
Okay, the iPhone 13 mini. Let's do starlight. It looks like a white.
It's a white one, yeah. And On the Apple Watch sport bands, they have a Starlight version now, and that looked more like an egg white or like an off white compared to the pure white sport band.
Okay.
Because they were kind of close to each other, but it's like it's so close that I don't get why they had to make this distinction.
Yeah, doesn't make sense, but or at least it does make sense to you and I. The product red looks like it's the same color than last year. Maybe the tint is a little bit different, or the hue is a little bit different. Starlight to me looks white. The the midnight looks almost black. I do like the blue this year.
Yeah, me too.
And the pink, I'm not a fan, but like if it was maybe more, this is more like a soft pink. If it was rose gold, I'd be all about that. All about rose gold. All about it.
I think it's probably the pink now is like what kind of is replacing the rose gold. They didn't have rose gold last year, did they?
No, they did not have rose gold last year. Techno Loti is Starlight color is kind of like champagne. Yeah, I think you're right. It doesn't seem to be like as maybe creamy as champagne. Like I think a champagne maybe of like having more glitter to it. I don't know if that's the right way of thinking about it, but
the back of the iPhone 8, the gold version, was kind of champagne-y.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Starlight here on the iPhone on the iPhone looks white.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So coming in these three colors, starting at $128 for $699, excuse me, $256 for $799, or $512 for $999. Isn't really there's no price increases across the lineup this year.
No.
And what's interesting is that carriers here in the U.S. are really throwing down the deals to get people to sign up and move to 5G devices. I don't know.
Interesting. For an infrastructure that's still not built up nearly enough yet.
Yeah. You don't have 5G where you live, do you?
I have no idea. I mean, I still have an iPhone XR, so I don't even have. It doesn't really matter to me. What are the deals though? Like, what kind of deals? Like, what does Verizon have? Do you know? I haven't seen that at all.
Yep. So AT&T is. Hold on, go back to the main page because that's where it was. So the deals on the iPhone are AT&T is offering $1,000 trade-in credit. T-Mobile is offering $700, and Verizon is offering $700 when you trade in the device. Like those are pretty good deals.
What's the what are they saying? Like iPhone 12 or iPhone 11? Because I can't imagine I'd get that for my 10R. There's no way they would give me $700 for a 10R.
They said specifically Holden will let you trade in your iPhone XR. Hold on. Explore details. Shop all iPhone models. I think you have to go through the buy process. Hold on. Pro. Let me just pick something. You're going to get a terabyte. Verizon.
Definitely not going to get a terabyte, but okay.
Okay. So Verizon says iPhone 13 Pro from $26 after trade-in. So your bill credit is you make 1 to 2 payments of $35 before bill credits, and then the details are okay. So your iPhone, what is it, 10R?
Yeah, I have an iPhone XR, 128 gigabytes.
Okay, so the iPhone 13 Pro would be $9.96 over 30 months. So $10.
Oh, I see how it works.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say $10. I'm like, I'm going to get one right now.
Yeah, take my money.
Yeah, take my money. I'll do that. Absolutely. $10? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So I think the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 mini, what is really, in my opinion, and you can voice yours in a second, the biggest features are the low light performance on the camera, which is great, and the improvements in battery life. Both of those features are coming to both devices, the both sets of devices. Some will be more, you'll get better performance on the Pro than you do on the regular, but just the fact that you're getting, somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 minutes to 2.5 hours of more usage on your phone is like, wow, holy cow, I can't believe they're doing that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge, yeah.
That is huge. And
I think they're rock solid upgrades. They're good upgrades.
I think so too. Though, well, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I'll tell you in a minute. Let's see here. Okay. Now there are some. This is going to go to both devices. There are some new, obviously MagSafe, the whole cases, yada yada. They didn't have, or they didn't announce any type of fast charging that was different than what they have today. So we kind of theorized last week, saying, okay, if I was Apple, we saw this thing go through the FCC, and are they going to get faster wireless charging? Nope, 15 watts. Now whether that comes out at a future point in time, who knows? But that's what it shows right now: 15 watts of wireless charging, which is still kind of slow for when I think some devices offer like 25 watts or 20 watts of wireless charging, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's when it's in. Oh wait, you're saying wireless can go higher than 15 watts? Because 15 is the highest I've seen with wireless. But
No, I'm saying that today the current threshold is 15 watts.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no changes there.
It's faster than what existed before, but if you want to charge your phone quickly, you should still plug it in.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Now, what is cool, which they kind of talked, I think they've talked about it on stage, there is a new wallet, and that wallet offers Find My. I'm very happy about that. That will work now, so there's no AirTag built into it, but it does offer you the ability to find your wallet if it's disconnected from your iPhone.
Was that a software feature where it would just detect when it was taken off?
Today, when you disconnect the wallet, they have this accessory ID via NFC. So when you connect the wallet, there's a graphic that shows on your phone, and then when you disconnect it, there's another graphic. So same thing. If your wallet comes off, it gives you an alert, and then if you get separated from it, it'll ping you in Find My and the Apple Watch, assuming that you have one. Okay, so let's talk about the iPhone Pro and Pro Max. Now, there are 4 new colors. That Sierra Blue I'm all about that. That's my pre-order color right there. Sierra Blue, Silver, Gold, and Graphite. Graphite looks nice, but it's not what I would keep. Sierra Blue is like, you just got a new iPhone. I could tell because it's that Sierra Blue color. Available at $9.99 and $10.99 respectively for the Pro and Pro Max, and coming in at $128 all the way up to 1 terabyte worth of storage, which I have no idea who's going to buy a 1 terabyte iPhone. That is ridiculous because the 1 terabyte iPhone Pro Max is $1,500. Sorry, $1,599. That is like more than people's computer, more than people spend on their car. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, but unless you're recording ProRes video on that thing, I can't imagine needing a terabyte.
So my friend told me, he's like, you're going to buy the 1 terabyte one. I'm like, no, I'm not. There's no way. He's like, why? He's like, I know you want it. I'm like, I might want it, but I'm not going to buy it. That's just a ridiculous amount of money I would spend on that. Like, I literally don't feel like spending that. He's like, well, why? I'm like, well, I think I'm going to get the iPad mini. This is before I bought it. I'm like, why would I need the iPad mini if I have, why would I get the iPhone Pro Max if I have an iPad mini? It's like kind of there's not enough friction between the two devices. He's like, you're going to get it. Just watch. I'm not getting it. So in case you're listening, I'm not buying it. I'm telling you right now.
Here's the thing: is you were going to get it, but now out of spite, you're not going to.
Yeah. I was going to get it until he said something, and now I'm like, no, I am not getting that. I'm going to show you. I am going to show you. So in terms of features, there's, I think, a lot of new features coming to the iPhone Pro and the iPhone Pro Max that are unique to those two devices. So one, you're getting the same A15 Bionic, but you're getting more cores. You're getting 5 cores on those two devices versus 4 cores on the lower iPhones. So presumably it's for, maybe running the 120 hertz ProMotion display that's found on the iPhone Pro and Pro Max, though I don't know if there's going to be any actual performance difference on those two devices in comparison. You're getting ProRes recording on those two devices as well. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat where you can't record 4K unless you have a 256 gig iPhone, which I thought was kind of strange. Apple doing some kind of software limitation and just letting people write it out.
Yeah, I get it. Like, you would fill it up really fast, but let people make that choice as opposed to you making it for them.
Yes.
It's the same camera. Like, it's not like the camera's just like you said, it's a software lock.
So
it's kind of crummy.
So the reason why I have this metal hard drive is because I record in ProRes, and like ProRes on my camera that I'm using is like every minute of recording is a gigabyte. So I could understand why you'd want to limit that on a phone. And I think there's additional data that they're probably writing in there that makes the file a little bit bigger. But to not let the consumer make the choice seems like it's kind of you're pushing people to get a larger phone, maybe artificially.
Yeah. I didn't realize that it would be that big of a file size, though. It's pretty bananas.
Oh, dude, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So talking about features, there's that feature. Then there's the cinematic feature, the cinematic camera, I think they're calling it, or cinematic video.
Yeah.
Now
the cinematic mode or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. That is limited to 1080p at 30 frames per second. That's not even available in 4K. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of meh. Like, just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of bad. I would have thought that they would have brought it in 4K 30, but it seems like they can't do it, maybe because of a processor limitation.
Next year's iPhone 14 will be able to do that. It'll be one of the big features.
You got to allow something for next year, buddy. You got to allow something for next year. There is also the nighttime mode. Hold on one second. What do they actually call it? Please hold.
I think it's just night mode. Or is it nighttime mode now?
Hold on.
I don't know why night mode is stuck in my head now.
Yeah, night mode is stuck in my head, but that's not what... where did it go? Please hold. Compared... hold on, guys.
Yeah, it's telephoto night mode and night mode portraits.
There you go. Thank you. Those two features are limited to the iPhone Pro and Pro Max, where they don't come to the iPhone 13, obviously, because there's not a telephoto lens. That would make sense. And then there's the ProRes, which we talked about here just a few minutes ago. For me, I don't think at this moment, and I told you this last week, I don't think that there's enough here for me to upgrade to this device. Like, I have to have it. Like, me probably upgrading to the device and for review, but I don't think I'm going to keep it. The additional talk time is great, but that's not something I need at this moment in my stay-at-home lifestyle that I have. And ProMotion is great, but that all of the what we thought were going to be the upgrades to the display, like complications, possibly Apple Pencil, those things aren't there. And do I really need a ProMotion display? Probably not. And for me, it's not enough to upgrade, at least at this point, without having the device in my hand. I'm really interested to test the camera and the performance of the camera, but I don't think it's something that I have to have. And this is strange coming from me. And I've had an iPhone for the past 10 years at least. I might skip it. I'm kind of surprised.
You're going to get the 1 terabyte option.
No, I'm not, Holden. No, I'm not.
I'm there with you that... I guess I'm not entirely there with you because I have an iPhone XR. So this is a huge upgrade, for me, but I'm still happy with my XR. And I'm probably think I'm still going to wait for next year. So I feel like next year there's the rumor of the notchless version and all that stuff, and I'm like, I'd rather wait and get that next year, and if it's not that, then I'll just get it next year, whatever it is. But the ProMotions is the one that kind of gets me. The main reason I won't get it, though, because of ProMotion, actually has nothing to do with the iPhone and everything to do with none of my devices have 120 hertz to begin with, and I don't want to have that FOMO of having this super smooth phone experience and not having it on my iPad, not having it on my Mac, not having it on my monitor, not having it anywhere else but my phone. That would drive me a little crazy.
I certainly get that, and I think it's very noticeable when you have a small screen. I don't know how noticeable it would be on a larger screen if you're just like normal content. Like if you're writing a Word document, do you really need 120 frames per second? Does it? No, probably not. I think that's the answer. I don't know. Like I'm just looking at the features. Like the cameras look better, the video looks better, though slow motion is still the same. Looks to be the same quality. The battery life is better. Face ID is smaller, but is there an improvement in Face ID and the usefulness of it? I don't think the answer is no. At least they didn't talk about that. The display is brighter, but is it better? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see a lot of compelling reasons for me personally why I would upgrade. Of course, I tell you this 2 days before the pre-order, and then I'm going to get consumed with pre-order. I'm going to buy it.
And you get the 1 terabyte option.
Yep, and then I'm going to text you at 5 in the morning, like, I bought this phone. Damn you.
Technology. First of all, he corrected us on the name of night mode. It's actually night mode Super XDR Retina Max, and thank you for correcting us.
Thank you.
We were wrong about that. Yeah. He also said using the camera in low light seems like it will be improved, at least in theory. Having a f1.5 main sensor and f1.8 ultra wide sounds like it will be really good. I don't know anything about cameras. I know the F is referring to the aperture, but I don't really know like what that means. Michael, probably you know more than I do on that.
Yeah. So the lower the number, right, is how much light's being let into it. Right, so if you, an f1.5 camera is going to have better light performance than an f1.8.
Because the diameter of the hole, essentially?
Yes, so it's the amount of light that's being let in. So if you have a lens the maximum aperture is f2 versus a lens that's maximum aperture is f1.2, the f1.2 will have a better low light performance because it's letting more light in. The iris or the aperture is wide open, letting more light in.
Interesting. And especially interesting because Apple doesn't make aperture anymore. That was such a stupid joke.
Yeah. Dun dun shh. Sorry about that. So that's the thing there. I agree with what he's saying. That we're calling it the wrong name, and the Super Night Mode Retina XDR Display Max is probably the better marketing name.
Absolutely, yeah.
See, like,
just name it the whole phone. That iPhone Pro Night Mode Super XDR Retina Max is just a much better name for the phone to begin with. Just name the whole phone that.
Pro Max Res Plus.
Pro Max Res Plus. Absolutely, yeah. That's the next one. That's going to be the notchless phone next year. They have a third category.
Third category.
It's going to be that.
So wait, I completely glossed over the update to Face ID. So it's now 20% smaller in terms of the actual the size that takes up on the device. So it's narrower but a little bit taller. That's the way that I heard it described. But again, it's not. Is there significance there where it's more useful? And I don't know that to be the case. And I find it very hard to spend $1,400 on a phone if there's no significant updates on it. Yeah, it's just, that's my thought on it.
I mean, we're at a point now with iPhones where it is super iterative. I mean, it's always been iterative, but there's been kind of these big tentpole features each time.
Yes.
At least until, like, I'd say the iPhone 10, and then kind of after that, it's been pretty stagnant. Or I shouldn't say stagnant. They're big upgrades, but for existing features that are already there, as opposed to like something new. I don't know. Like if the Leo sensor or radio sensor was in there, that would be like the next big thing.
And what happened to that?
So I have a theory, and I should have looked into this before we recorded, but if memory serves me right, the U1 chip was technically introduced with the iPhone 11, but it was not announced on stage.
Yep, you're right, but you're right. Full stop.
I wonder if it is there, but they need to get some more things in the infrastructure to support the feature, so they didn't talk about it, but it'll be activated or something like that. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a sensor not active on a device. Yep.
So you are right. Beige 2. So there, on the iPhone 11, they didn't really talk about it on stage, and they said, oh, this feature is coming with AirDrop and all the explanation that they did. But it was listed in the tech specs saying, so I don't see anything about. I'm looking at the cellular and wireless. Let's see here. Express cards power reserve. I'm reading the tech specs on the iPhone 13 Pro. So 5G, gigabit LTE, Wi-Fi 6, and it's not in there.
It's got Edge though.
It's got Edge, yeah. It's got the Edge
Got
for
Edge.
sure. Yeah. So location, we have built-in GPS, GLONASS, Galileo. I think GLONASS I think is the Russian satellite system. Galileo is the European one. I don't know what QZSS is. Let's see, Google. Quasi-zenith satellite system, also known as four satellites, regional transfer system, satellite-based augmentation. Okay, this is Japanese. And what's the other one? Oh gosh, Baidu. That's probably China. The way that it just sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sound.
Baidu is China. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. So
It is, yeah.
There's no other location, digital compass, Wi-Fi, cellular, iBeacon, microlocation, video calling, audio calling. Yeah, so they don't have anything in here about that, additional capability through satellite.
Mm-hmm. So it's not there.
Yeah, because I think they would have to list it even though it didn't have approval from the FCC.
Yeah, they would have to. Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least that's the thought. Yeah, they would have to. So I don't know. Like, going back to your point about having the additional capabilities, it just doesn't. At this point, I am a little. I'm being a little bit pessimistic and not thinking it's for me. But I do want to answer Steve's question here. So Steve IT guy, who's super active in the chat, Steve, do you think the larger storage configurations will have more RAM? I don't think that's an unreasonable conclusion to come to. I think that's pretty reasonable, especially if you think that the larger devices need RAM for to buffer things into the RAM for the 120 hertz display, and you probably need more RAM to bind, like on some of the older some of the newer iPads, they don't have a 1 terabyte SSD. They have two 512 SSDs, and they use more RAM to write the memory that way, or to write the items to the SSD that way. So I think that's reasonable. I guess we'll see in a week and a half when those devices come out.
Yeah, iFixit will rip it apart and let us know.
Yeah, and you could just run a speed test, or not speed test, but
oh yeah, that's right. I always forget about those.
What is that app called? Not Cocoa Battery. What is it called?
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I've never felt the need to do it on an iPhone because it's just like I got the iPhone XR. I know what that means. It's fast, good.
Yeah. Okay.
Whereas like a Mac, it's like, oh, what did I spec it up to? You know what I mean? Like what's it capable of?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's not even really going to be as true anymore, though.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Oops. Let's see here. Remove. So one more question. Technology, would RAM be useful for battery conservation? Not sure how it works.
You're saying would just more RAM or different RAM? Because I mean, every component in the device uses electricity, so it's going to pull some energy from the battery. So I'm sure that like certain styles of RAM will be more energy efficient than others, but I don't know if there's a distinction between more RAM or not. I have no idea about that.
Yeah,
like I don't think that like a larger hard drive, for example, like that. I do know that a larger hard drive wouldn't result in a difference in battery life. So I'd imagine that would be the same with RAM as well, but a different style of RAM, like going with a different style of RAM or a different type of RAM, that could have an impact.
Yeah, but those are all things that are kind of very opaque to the consumer, right? Like no one knows like what type of RAM other than it's Apple RAM. No one knows that.
So would more RAM help? No, it would. More RAM, I can't imagine would make a difference.
Yeah, it sounds like from what they said on stage, the increases in performance for the battery performance are driven by, the timing controller for the new display, and the processor gains from the new processor. So those two things seem to be driving a lot of the efficiencies where they're getting 90 minutes, 2 hours of increased talk time or increased usage out of that. Which is why they don't. Yeah. Which is it's not necessarily OS baked. Which is why you don't get the updates on your iPhone 12, 12 Pro, whatever the case is. because those components are so old.
That's actually one thing. Talking about the battery life, I wanted to mention this in relation to ProMotion. Because Samsung tweeted out today, like basically saying like, "Oh, haha, we've had 120 frames per second or 120 hertz for a while now." And the important distinction there is that I'm pretty sure this is true of Samsung phones, but I know this is true of a lot of Android phones, is they have 120 frames per second, but it's something you go into the settings and make that adjustment to say, I want 60 hertz or I want 120 hertz, and then it's just that hertz all the time, always. What's the big deal with the ProMotion display is the variable refresh rate, where it'll go down to 10 hertz if you're just looking at a static image. And then it will go up to 120 hertz as soon as you start to swipe to the next photograph. Like, that's the differentiator here. That's what makes ProMotion so great, is it doesn't have the impact on battery life because it doesn't have to run the display 120 times every second, even when you're looking at just a picture. It adjusts. And I don't know, I saw a lot of like people getting into the Android versus iOS like fanboyism stuff, and there's just a lot of like, yep, Android's had it for a while, they're better. And it's like, yeah, but this implementation is far better. Like, definitively, objectively, there's no, how could you possibly like debate that point? Like, ProMotion's clearly better. Sure, they were later, but that's what happens with Apple. You wait a little bit longer for certain features to come out, and then it turns out to be way better.
Yeah, I think probably even part of that as well is that no one could make the displays at scale and the yield that Samsung's able to do now. You know, as a first-party consumer of their own services, Samsung can say, okay, we're going to take the displays for us, but the LTPO or LPTO, but no other manufacturer has been able to make them at scale for, you know, it's really easy to make it for a Samsung phone because, you know, you might sell a couple 100,000 of a specific high, you know, phone that has a high refresh rate, opposed to an iPhone where you're selling, you know, millions of them in a quarter. So the you know, the yield and the quantity that you need is much different. Though it's cute that when Android fanboys get jealous, it's cute.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Absolutely, totally agree with that.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we want to talk about in terms of the iPhone 13, 13 Pro, 13 Max, 13?
It's a new iPhone.
Oh, you know,
it's not going to be bad.
Yeah, like, the macro photography, those that looked really impressive. Did you catch that?
Oh, yeah, that is a big deal. Like, how often have I tried to take? I don't take pictures very often, but when I go to hold up for a close up and it can't keep it in focus because it's too close, that won't be as much of an issue. That's nice. That's very nice.
So I thought about that, and as soon as they talked about it on stage, I'm like, son of a gun! I never even thought about that. They have that Magnify app on the phone in iOS 15, where you can basically increase the magnification.
Oh.
I'm like, I never even thought that they would do, you know. Whoa.
But with macro, that's going to have much more utility to it.
Yeah. Well, so there's not a macro lens. It's using the telephoto lens.
Yeah. But it works better for getting up close with something, so that should help with the magnifying.
Yeah, like I used it to find a serial number on something. I'm like, I can't read that serial number because I'm feeling really old. Let me magnify the hell out of this.
And you can copy and paste it.
Yes, you can with live text.
Yeah,
that's the use case I had. I'm like, oh, this is great. Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, not with the iPhones. I mean, every year with the iPhone, the conversation I think is going to be, it's not going to be bad. If you like iPhone, it's a better iPhone
than last year.
Yeah, like that's I think going to be the story of iPhone now, until something really revolutionary comes out. But one thing we didn't talk about is Apple TV Plus and the morning show coming out this week, and then Foundation coming out morning show this week. Yeah, Foundation next week. Awesome, so pumped. Morning show, great show. Foundation, I cannot wait. I'm so excited for that.
Really? So I get I've never watched. I maybe watched one episode of the morning show with my wife, and it looked okay. Like just from what I got from it. But the preview of season 2, I watched it last night. It did look good. Foundations, I don't know. Like I'm not a huge Isaac Asimov fan. I do like sci-fi, but I don't know if I can like get into the level of detail that they're going.
Like really hard sci-fi.
Yes, like I like Star Wars, but I don't like Star Trek. So I mean, don't you know? If you're out there listening, I'm sorry, but that's just how I am. Yeah, like I'm not really like hardcore sci-fi, though. Yeah. Anyways,
I don't know much about Foundation. I know about Isaac Asimov, some of his work. I don't know much about Foundation, but to me, I've been really impressed with some of the quality of the Apple TV Plus shows, and this one looks to be very high quality. I think there's the potential with the high production values that they have for this show that it could be kind of Apple's first like big Game of Thrones level show, potentially, if it's able to meet that level, that threshold of the only 4 seasons of Game of Thrones that exist, by the way. It only went on for 4 seasons. Morning Show, though, is really, really good. I highly recommend it. It handles an incredibly delicate topic with a lot of nuance and care, and it gets better and better and better throughout the whole show. So I don't know. I'd say if you thought the first one was okay, I was kind of in the same boat. I thought the first one was okay, but by episode 2, I was like totally in. Same thing with Ted Lasso. First episode Ted Lasso was fine. Episode 2, I was completely sold, and now that's one of my favorite shows.
Are you caught up on Ted Lasso?
No, I'm not. I'm, I think, an episode or 2 behind right now. I haven't had a lot of time to watch and do fun things.
Okay. Well, I don't want to ruin it then, but it's good.
It's been fantastic. Season 2 has been so good so far.
Minus the Christmas episode, I was like, what's going on here? Oh
yeah, that one went on a little long. It was cute, but it went on a little long. I feel like they were trying to get you to maybe think that Rebecca and Ted could be a thing, because they were kind of like slowly teasing at that. Sorry if I'm spoiling season 2.
Yeah.
Should have said spoilers. I feel like the Christmas episode kind of helped with that. Because in the next episode, I'm like, oh, they're going to do something with that. And then it took this really interesting turn, and I'm curious to where it goes from there.
Yeah. Well, it does get better.
I love the show.
Yeah, it does get better. If there's nothing else to add, Holden, where can everyone find you at?
I am on the Twitter. At Holden DePardo.
Okay.
And that is where you can find me.
Find you online.
Yeah, you can find me online there. And my tweets aren't worth it. You're better off following at Networked or Michael or Tech24 7 TV. You're much better off following those channels.
So those
accounts.
You tweet a lot about video games, right? Which is your passion.
I do, yeah.
So if you like video games, I think, Holden, you obviously are a way more well-versed than I am in video games. You have much more experience. So thank you. I appreciate the comment. But I guess, everyone, thank you very much for joining tonight. Hopefully we'll talk soon, and we'll talk in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.